Hi, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to answer a question that I get asked a lot, which is how to make an amazing mousse topping for a drink. So there's actually a lot of different variables to consider when you're going to be adding a mousse to a drink or to your menu overall. And the 3 different ways that you decide to serve it will play a big part in this. Will your drink have a plastic seal or no seal? Will your customers be enjoying it with a thin straw or a large bubble tea size straw? And last but not least, maybe you want to serve it with the type of lid that goes on top that has an area for you to drink it back, so you're getting the mousse and the drink at the same time. So just these 3 things alone can show that there are actually a lot of things to consider, such as, do you want your mousse to be thick or thin? Is it the type of mousse that you want someone to be drinking while they're drinking the drink, right? Or is it going to be stirred in or shaken in? You know, what is the end result of the mousse that you're going to be serving for your customers with their drink? So now we're gonna go into 3 different recipes, how to make it, and today I'm going to be using a tiramisu powder, which I sourced from a bubble tea supplier, and I'm also going to be, in addition to that, sharing with you a piece of machinery equipment that I have, which is amazing for this process. So let's get started. All right, so before we start measuring in all of the ingredients, I just want to show you this equipment here. And I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that there's a link in the description, along with actually all of the recipes that I'm giving you today. I'm gonna be giving you loads of different variations. Everything that I talk about today is gonna be in the description of the video, so please do check that out for more information. Okay, so again, this equipment was made specifically for the bubble tea industry. This is a product that you can get online, and it is meant for a variety of different things. And the thing that we are using today is this really cool attachment right here. And it just pops in normally where you would have blades, right? So if you were going to make a smoothie or a slushie, there would be blades in there. It would be very, very sharp. This one does not have that. There is a separate jug that you can get for that. But this thing, you just pop that in there, it kind of hooks in place, and that's it, literally. This will create the mousse or the foam, or you know, whatever you want to call it. So you just put that on here, and that's all you need to do. And it's really easy to clean as well. It just pops out and you clean it. And that's that. So this is super simple. You just want to have it on the cream setting. The number doesn't actually make a difference because we're not on a variable setting for the speed of it. It takes care of itself on cream. And then this button over here, you just push it down, turns it on, ready to go. And if you don't have this amazing equipment in order to make the mousse, then simply consider using an electric whisk and a bowl with a scraper. Super simple and easy. I've got it plugged in, so let's go ahead and measure in the ingredients for the first variation of recipe number 1. So this first recipe is quite thick, all right? This is the type of mousse that you would want to have on a dessert style drink. So this flavor is perfect because it's tiramisu. I would probably mix it with something really sweet, just an amazing dessert item. Maybe have some crushed up cookies in there, something as well, and a savory topping perhaps, such as boba or pudding, or even like creme brulee, something that's really screams, you know, dessert, right? This one also, because it's so thick, is perfect to not have any lid or seal on it at all, and just sprinkle something on top, maybe some little cookie bits or candies or decoration, and also to be able to give someone a spoon and a straw. That way they can drink their drink and eat the mousse, because this is quite thick. It is almost like having, you know, an extra bit of dessert on the top of your bubble tea. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and measure out 50 grams of this foam powder that comes in a giant bag. If you're in the bubble tea industry, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so I'm gonna hit the tare or tar button to 0 and grams, and we're just gonna go ahead and measure in 50. Okay, perfect. And next we're going to measure in 50 milliliters of double cream. Now, if you're in a country that doesn't have double cream, then of course you would be using whipping cream. And also, when we get to the milk in just a second, I just want to touch on this. You want to go for whole milk. You can definitely go, non-fat or low fat, but the idea is that we want this to be really thick and creamy and have a lot of buoyancy on the top of the drink, so you get that really nice layered effect. So again, next is 50 milliliters of double cream and or whipping cream. Go ahead and pour that straight in. And next I'm going to add the 90 milliliters of my whole milk. And we will also pour that straight in there. And last but not least, then I'm going to put in the 50 grams of the flavored foam cap powder. But you can always double, triple, quadruple the recipe in order to get the quantity that you need to serve your customers. So I'm just gonna pop the lid on. I've got it on the cream setting, and I'm just going to hit the start button. I'm sure you can hear this. It's not super loud, and it will automatically turn off after 60 seconds, which is exactly what we want. So I'm just gonna go ahead and let it run for the full 60 seconds. Okay, and if there does happen to be any powder that didn't get blended really nicely around the outside, I like to just push it down just a tad, make sure that it's all in there, and you're not gonna get chunks on the side or anything. And because I did that, I'm just going to turn it on for, 5 or 10 seconds just to make sure it's all blended up together. Okay, perfect. In terms of flavor, let's go ahead and give it a try. So good. Super, super thick, like I said. It really is like a dessert foamy sort of mousse, if you will. Really, really good flavor for this one as well. I'm going to show you exactly how this looks on a drink that I've pre-made, so give me 1 second to get that for you. All right, I've pre-made up some strawberry milk, just using a really basic recipe, and I wanna leave about 1 inch of headroom, which will give me a good amount of the mousse on top, especially with a drink like this it's really thick and intense. We don't wanna have a huge amount. Just having, like I said, about 1 inch, maybe a little less is perfect, but you can always decide exactly how much for your shop and just let your staff know, of course. Okay, so I'm just gonna pour it in so you can see exactly how it looks. And like I said, this one is very, very thick. All right, there you go. Just give it a little swirl on top just to even out the view from the top. Tastes really good. Okay, so this is a really great option, like I said, if you want something super, super thick. And I'll go ahead and leave a variation of this in the description, which is slightly thinner. But if you do want to go for that really intense dessert type vibe, this one is the way to go in terms of thickness. I would also say the thickness of this one is really good for this quite trendy thing, which I've seen online, which is these little like mochi balls, and they come on a stick and people kind of dunk them into the stick and pull them out, and the entire thing is coated with a really, really thick type of foam. This is the consistency, this is the recipe that you're gonna want for that. Because if you're pulling it out, whether it's that, a dessert or a candy or anything of the sort, you don't want it to kind of then, dribble all over the place on top of the customer. This one is thick, right? So if I put this in here and I pull it out like that, boom, it's together, right? It's not gonna go spilling all over me. So this is the consistency then that you want for if you're doing a dunkable dessert with your bubble tea. Do a little bit of sprinkle on top here. Cocoa or just anything you want really. Make it look extra fancy. Because like I said, this is really the type that you don't want to have a huge seal or lid on top. And we'll just sprinkle a little bit of rose petals. So now we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next recipe. And again, I will give a variation with that one as well, which is perfect if you want to have the lid on top where you're going to be sipping it. So I'm gonna go clean this out and I'll be right back. Okay, this next way to make it is great if you maybe don't have access to double cream or whipping cream, or you just don't wanna carry it in your shop. This variation is going to be using cold water and whole milk, and with the powder. And again, we're going to be using the tiramisu foam flavor. So first, I'm just going to go ahead and put in the 100 milliliters of water. This one does have one extra step, which I will get to in just a second. 40 grams of the powder. And here is where there's just an extra step. We're going to put this in here right away, put the lid on, and then while we're measuring the milk, give this a quick blend. Again, I've got this on the cream setting and I'm just going to hit the on button. That really just gives the powder an opportunity to blend nicely with the water. And you could actually do this exact same step previously with the other recipe where before you put in, the double cream, for example, just mix it together really well with just the plain milk and then add the double cream. This helps to prevent a lot of buildup on the sides, and that way, it's blended 100% type thing. So now that I've done that, I'm just gonna quickly take off the lid and pour in the 80 milliliters of whole milk. Hit the on button and let it run for a full minute. All right, so let's take a look here. This one is definitely more watery, much more liquidy, if you will, because it doesn't have that thickness from the whipping cream or the double cream, but it will still give a nice buoyancy on top of the drink. All right, I'm just gonna give it a little bit of a try here. See, this one is also very nice. The only difference is it lacks a little bit of the creaminess that you would get if you had added in, double cream or whipping cream. But you still get that nice milkiness from the actual milk that we added. And like I said, the benefit to doing this way is it's gonna be a lot easier when you have the drinking type lid, which I will show you in just a second. And because we do have the powder in there, it will retain its buoyancy for quite a long time. And I'll be showing you an example of that. I've got a selection I'm gonna show you. Definitely very cool. All right, so I'm gonna put this off to the side. And also because this is a little more liquidy, it sort of becomes part of the drink, right? So whether you decide to put a lid on top, have the customer shake it in, or even if you just wanna put a lid on, they put their straw in there, either way, it will mix a little easier than the thicker type of foam, which means that that flavor will then become part of the drink. Therefore, I went ahead and gave just a little more headroom for this product because I feel like it needs it when you're drinking it. And again, we'll go ahead and put some rose petals on top. So if I was gonna be serving this type of foam, as I said, it is more liquidy, I would be using this type of lid. And just preference, I mean, it comes up to you and what your customers are wanting or expecting, of course, but this type is really good to drink. So this type of lid has a hole right here. It's got a little like lip inside to prevent it from just gushing out as well. So that's perfect for, drinking this mousse or foam with the drink. And then on the opposite side, there's a optional thing that you can punch through if you have a giant bubble tea size straw. So that's there as well. So let me just show you how that pops on there like that. And again, we always want to double check the lids before we hand them out to the customers because I mean, whoever wants to take a drink of something and it goes all over you. All right, so for this, again, you would just sort of tilt it back. It's such a nice experience, First you get the foam, it's really, really light, and then you all of a sudden get a little bit of hit of the, in this case, the strawberry milk. It's really enjoyable. The other thing that you can consider when you're trying to decide if you want to go for a thicker style foam or mousse as opposed to a thinner is the actual temperature of the drink. That will make a huge difference. So this really, really thick foam would go perfect with a hot beverage, right? Think your upcoming winter drinks menu. This would be a perfect layered thing for that, and the denseness of it will sit perfectly on top of the drink. Whereas this one might kind of have a more thinness to it. It's not really something that I would put with a hot drink. This is more an iced beverage. This is something that's very, very cold. Actually, this would go really nicely with an iced coffee, just having that layer on top of an iced coffee, for example. So that's just another thing to think about, whether you're deciding if you want to bring in more of a thicker mousse and foam or more of a thinner one. All right, so I went ahead and brought in all of the drinks that I had made quite a few hours ago, and I numbered them. They're the variation of this recipe. So then that way, when you're looking in the description, you can just say number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. But they're not in any sort of particular order of my favorite. I just labeled them 1 through 4 as opposed to A through D. These two are the thicker, and these two are the thinner. And let me show you real quick. Like I said, they've been out for quite a while. And the benefit to using the powder is that you still have that layer, which is amazing because you're not going to be getting the fingers right away that would normally happen if you don't have some sort of extra buoyancy. And these have been left out on the counter for quite a few hours, where these have been in the fridge. So let me go ahead and show you the consistency and how it looks when it's been in the fridge for a few hours versus how it looks when it's been out on the counter for a few hours. And one thing I wanted to mention before I forget, if you get little air bubbles on the top, like you'll see in these two here, it's simply because when I was making it, the water and or the milk or the double cream wasn't cold enough. So make sure that your milk, your double cream, and your water is at its coldest possible temperature. And it probably didn't help that the actual blender was quite warm. I had just cleaned it with hot soapy water. So that's why you're getting a little bit of air bubbles. So if that happens to you, don't worry. Just make sure everything's at a really cold temperature when you're blending it. Okay, so this is number 4. This is the one that we just did. And as you can see, it's thickened up a little bit in the fridge. This is number 3, and the only difference between 3 and 4 with these variations is one has whipping cream and one has milk. That's it. And for 1 and 2, 2 is the thick one. It's the one that I just made for you guys a little bit ago. This one is super thick, and as you can see with it being in the fridge, it's even thicker. And 1 is a slight variation of it. It's a tad bit thinner, but still on the thick side. And as you can see with the ones that have been out on the counter, they are still good, ready to go, ready to be enjoyed. I personally would enjoy one if it was colder, but it just goes to show that you don't actually have to refrigerate this product as soon as you're done making it. You can actually leave it on the counter for a bit and it's not gonna lose its buoyancy, which is amazing when you're a shop owner. And now that I've supplied you with these 4 different types of recipes stemming off from the 2 main styles, the sky's the limit. So have fun being creative and creating your own mousse foam recipe. All right, so that just about wraps it up. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope that you found value in all of the extra research and development that I did for you guys, so that way you can make an educated decision as a shop owner or even as someone making this at home, what sort of mousse that you want to do. Now, this video is part of a series. I will be doing other flavors as well, so be sure to stay tuned for that. And other than that, I will see you again soon. Take care.